Welcome to Portugal, Tomar, specifically the Convent of Christ, Tomar, which, if you're into the Knights Templar, you'll know that this is a stronghold for them for many hundreds of years. It was built by King Alfonso in 1160 and still remains a pilgrimage for many fans of Knights Templar from around the world. I personally come here 2, maybe 3 times every year. It's a place that has a deep meaning for me. And if you do decide to come here, I'd suggest that you come like I did in early spring. Be one of the first people through the door to get the best film that you can get, because this place gets very busy very quickly. I wouldn't come here during the summer because it is packed. They do tours from Lisbon and Porto, and you really can't move with people coming from all around the world to visit this magnificent building that was built to celebrate Jesus Christ and his teachings. So it's been a while since I uploaded a video onto YouTube, and the reason for that is I've been on my travels, and those travels have been to Germany, France, my home in Spain, and obviously Portugal, as of where I make this video from. I have to tell you that on my travels to the aforementioned countries, I've seen things that concern me, and I think concern an awful lot of people in Europe in relation to this uncontrolled migration, which, in my estimation, is being orchestrated by Brussels in Europe, specifically Germany. It's been a while since I've been to Germany, but when I went through Germany recently, like Munich, where I was for a few days, it reminded me of what happened in the 1940s. Everywhere I went, I saw nothing but police, men and women, armed to the teeth, like we were back in the good old days of the 1940s. I think personally, Germany is in a great deal of trouble at the moment. I then moved on to France. France is a country that I like a lot. If you know anything about the Knights Templar, you'll know that the Templars originated in the Champagne area of France. And it's a beautiful country. However, France, I think, is in more trouble than Germany. In Paris, every street I went to, there was nothing but men and women, as in Germany, standing at corners with submachine guns. And the whole thing, for me personally, is reminiscent of the 1940s, when a certain group of people occupied France for a number of years. And if I'm honest with you, some of it is frightening, actually, to see, but see it you will. I would not recommend anyone going to Paris. I feel that Paris is a very dangerous city at the moment. And I'll leave you to work out for yourself just why it is as dangerous as it has become. Then we move on to Spain, where I have my home in the beautiful Castile Leon region that I've had for the last 20-odd years. Now, the reason I have a home in Spain is really quite simple. I moved to the UK in 1985 as a teenager. I expected to spend the rest of my life there, retire, maybe Cornwall, Norfolk, some area like that. But as time went on, I began to realize that the UK was changing, and changing for the worst. So, in 2005, I gave up my job, sold my home, didn't really know where I was going to. I knew I wanted to go to Spain. And after I'd sold everything, I had put whatever I had left in my automobile, drove through France into Spain, and just ended up where I ended up. I had no plans, none whatsoever. That was 20 years ago this year. And when I was making the decision to leave, it's a difficult one because you're giving up a beautiful home out in the country, great job, great benefits. And when you do something like that, you think to yourself, am I really doing the right thing here? And for me, that was the best thing I ever did, because I've spent a number of months last year in the UK, and I don't think that the UK can be saved by voting. I think the UK, like a lot of other countries in Europe, is way past the point of voting. You'll have to read into that what you want to, but that's my personal opinion. But with my move to Spain, I moved to Spain and I bought a property for cheap. And one of the reasons it was for cheap was because in 2008, you had the massive collapse of the financial scam, such as the mortgages and all the security-backed pieces of paper that had no value. So you could get things for cheap. And I did. So I am in the position today where I have no mortgage. And if you use the French to describe a mortgage, that comes down to dette cert. So that's what I did. And like I said, no mortgage, just utilities and just the cost of living. I drive a car which is a quarter of a century old. It's an old BMW, and it works. And it's something that you can fix with some spanners, which is what you can't do with modern vehicles today. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I come across a lot of English people, British people in Europe in my travels, and they all keep saying the same thing. I'd love to get away from the life I'm living in the UK. Well, the answer to that is you can, and it's very easy. And if you have the determination, you can do it. You should do it. Plus also, if you go into central Spain, you can get property, you can get land for dirt cheap. Especially if you can speak the language and you can integrate with the people. There's deals to be done. And I know a lot of people will give me a lot of flack for this, but I keep telling Brits when I see them that you're not going to change anything by voting in the UK. If you can, get out. Come to España. I love living in Spain. I love the people. They have always treated me well, and I've always done everything that I can possibly do to integrate with them. But one of the biggest things that you can have in Spain is Christianity. It's not a must. I'm not saying that you have got to be Christian to live here. I'm just saying it helps because they have a lot of festivals in Spain all over the place, as you know if you visit. But one of the biggest things that's important to people in Spain is famila. Your family. Family is very important here. And this is one of the reasons that I believe that the Brussels regime has not been able to put the dent in family and Christian heritage as they've done in the UK. And I hate to say it, but I must say it. I believe personally that people, English people, British people, have turned their backs on Christianity. And if you turn your back on Christianity, another ideology will move in and take advantage of that. And this is exactly what has happened in the last 20 years in England. And point of fact is this. In the last 10 years in England, way over 3,500 churches have closed in England, Scotland, and Wales. And at the same time, 1,800 mosques have opened. And some of those mosques have opened in places that used to be called churches. How that is allowed to happen, I don't know, but it is. Personally, as a Christian, I find that very disrespectful. And you can agree with me or disagree with me. That's my point of view. I don't think that should happen. I think that people in places of power, within the government or within the church, should say, that's not happening. Yet it's allowed to happen. One more reason why I say that England has turned its back on its Christian heritage. And if you do that, there will be problems like the problems that are already arising in England. And when I speak of Christianity, I'm not talking about people getting down on their knees 2 or 3 times a day, going to the local church and praying and asking for forgiveness. There's different kinds of Christians. There's really moderate and really serious. And how you see your Christianity makes no difference to me as long as you see your Christianity. But churches are not just a place of praying, they're communities. And over the last 20 years, specifically with 1997, when the Blair regime came into fruition, I've seen in England these organizations take away communities like churches, like pubs, like children's scout areas and things like that. They've removed them. And of course, if you remove somebody's focal point in a community, that community, slowly but surely, will die. Pubs in England, closing, I think it's 4 or 5 every week, disappear, gone. Pubs, like churches, I know they're completely different, but they're places of community. It's where you go after work. You have a pint with your friends. You sit down. You know what's going on in your town, your village. And you understand the dangers that may be approaching your village. And as a group of people, you can stop that from happening. And back in the day, when England had its pubs, you would play pool, you would play darts. Everybody knew everybody else. They know who the good people was, the bad people are. They knew it. Today, with the number of new arrivals that's coming into the country, nobody knows who they are. But back in the day, when you had community, church, pubs, children's scout areas and so forth, everybody knew everything. You could let your children go out and play, but you can't do that today any longer in the UK because it's too dangerous. Because successive regimes have made it deliberately dangerous for your children. And I'm not going to expand on that. I think you know what I'm saying. If you don't, well, it's just too bad. Speaking of communities, where I'm taking this video right now, which is in Tomar in Portugal, this is a Knights Templar town. When you get here, there's no denying the fact that this is indeed a Templar town, a Christian Templar town. It's all over the town. You can't miss it. And as I've said before, the people of Portugal are very into their Templars. They treat them with the highest of respect. And that's one of the reasons why I love coming to Portugal. I love the Portuguese people. I come to Portugal about 4 or 5 times a year. It's just a beautiful place to be. You can't find nicer people. Well, you can, but I'm just saying that because I want to let them know how much I appreciate them. But the Portuguese people are fantastic people to be amongst. They're friendly, they're very polite, they're highly decent, and they're Christian. And I may get some flack for that, saying, oh, they're Christian. Yes, they're Christian. I like to be amongst my Christian brothers and sisters. I feel relaxed in a Christian country, and I don't feel that I have to be ashamed to say that. But speaking of this town in particular, I did a video a number of weeks ago about a town in England, namely Baldock, in the county of Hertfordshire. And I said it was disrespectful to the Knights Templar. Now, I had a lot of feedback on that, and even yesterday, I had somebody write me from that town who actually agrees with the video I did. And I explained in that video that the church, St. Mary the Virgin, and the town, which were both established by the Knights Templar, if you go there, you could be forgiven that the Knights Templar never had anything to do with the building of the town or the building of the church. They have been excommunicado in relation to who they was and what they did. Now, a number of people came back and they said to me, why do you think that's the case? And a number of people contacted me, and they actually pointed out what I believe is the case. And the case that I believe is this. If you watch a particular film called The Kingdom of Heaven, which was fantastically shot with some fantastic actors, Jeremy Irons and Liam Neeson, and there was lots of different well-named actors. Fantastic film. The only problem with it is, most of it is an absolute lie. They wanted the public to believe that the Knights Templars had nothing better to do but to create crusades in the Holy Land to kill a certain group of people, which is completely false, because if you know your history, you'll know that the Templars and other military orders that I must include in that went to the Holy Land because Europe was headed for a Muslim invasion, which they didn't want to happen, and neither did the people. So that's what the Crusades was about. It was protecting our Christian heritage in Europe. But if you watch that film, you'll get the impression that they were just out to destroy people for the fun of it, which is not true. However, the director of that film, Ridley Scott, is a known atheist. And definitely, he is not a fan of Christianity. So, in relation to him, I guess he did that film from his viewpoint, as opposed to actually doing it with real history. So, like I said, Baldock and Tomar is like chalk and cheese. When you come here, it's in your face. You see it straight away that this is a town that is proud of its Christianity and proud of its Templar history. And if you're a fan of the Templars, or even medieval history, or any of the orders, you should get yourself here. It is a beautiful town. And if you come early in the morning to meet the sunrise, you can get some beautiful pictures of this convent stroke castle. And every year, They do fantastic festivals in the town of Tumar. And I would encourage anyone just to visit the town. It's a beautiful place. The people are amazing. Don't miss it. Don't think about it. Just do it. And then compare that to Boldock, which I still hold steadfast in my comment. I think it's a disgrace the way that the council and the church has basically just removed all of the history of the Templars in that church and that town. Hopefully that will change in the future, but we wait and we see. Coming back to Portugal and uncontrolled immigration, I was astonished to see the amount of immigrants migration into Lisbon or Lisboa, and I wasn't expecting what I saw, but I saw many thousands of people in that city that I hadn't seen there 3-4 years ago. And having spoken with the local people in Portugal, they're telling me that their government, if you want to call it a government, is expanding these people throughout Portugal into rural areas. That's going to cause problems because the people in rural areas are not like the people in the cities. They are completely different people, and they don't tolerate idiocracy in the same way that the cities do, and neither do the police. The police in Portugal are some of the best police I've ever had to deal with. And last year, being in this fine country, the police stopped me and they gave me a fine of 250 euros. And even though they were basically taking my money, you couldn't find nicer policemen to relieve you of 250 euros. They actually, in Portugal, they salute you when they finish with you. Where else could that happen? Only in Portugal. And as I was saying at the beginning about, when I left the UK, I didn't want to leave the UK. I had to leave the UK. And what I thought was going to happen to England is much, much worse than what did happen. And I thank the good Lord Jesus that I made that move when I did. And if you're in England today, and I love the English people, England has always treated me well, and I've always treated England well. And if you're one of those people in England that has come to the conclusion that you cannot carry on the way you're carrying on, please move. Please leave. Please leave and regroup somewhere else. You can buy land for cheap, like I said, in Spain or Portugal, if you know what you're doing. But even if you don't know what you're doing, it's still cheaper than you would ever get anywhere in the UK. I know people are going to say, well, if you don't have a European passport, that's kind of difficult. Well, I'm going to let you into a secret, my English friends. And it's a secret that you need to put to good use. In England and Ireland, there's a thing called the reciprocal agreement. It's been in place for the last 100 years. So I meet a lot of English people, brothers and sisters, because I consider them to be that. And I've come across a few. And I keep saying to them, how are you guys getting around this 90-day nonsense that they have put in place to punish the English? And they say, well, it's simple. I got myself an Irish passport. So I'm going to read between the lines here. Just don't hold me on this. I'm just reading between the lines what they told me. If you live in the UK, you can legally go and live in Ireland. And if you live in Ireland, you get like a social security number or it's a P something. I can't remember. It's a P something number. So if you go there and you open a company or you live there for a period of time, and you pay taxes, you can make an application to become an Irish citizen. And basically, this is just my own personal belief. There'll be people out there who will disagree with me, but I believe that England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, whether it's north or south, I believe that all those people are connected on those islands one way or another. They will have the same names, and I can guarantee you that the same DNA runs through their bloodlines. But that's how people from England stroke UK are obtaining Irish passports, where you don't have to be a victim of the 90-day nonsense that Brussels brought into place to punish the English for making a democratic decision. So, that's something you may want to look into. Something you can Google right now is, last year, 5,000 English/British people gained Irish citizenship, and the number is going up every single year. Apparently, there's 350 English-British people living in Ireland. And you have to understand, you've got the exact same rights in England as you have in Ireland because of the reciprocal agreement. That said, I did a video of going to Ireland after 30 years of not visiting the place. And Ireland, like Germany, like France, like other European countries, is in trouble also. And when I say trouble, I don't mean from the migrants. I mean from Brussels, because that's where the problem lies. I'm one of those people. I actually feel sorry for the migrants because they are being abused by Brussels. They are abusing them as a weapon against the citizens of Europe, and they're doing it all over the place. And how that place is still standing, and why the citizens of Europe have not made a decisive decision to remove that regime, I'll never understand. But in my estimation, what they are doing with human beings to destabilize Europe and England is beyond evil. It is a massive human traffic operation by elites that, in my opinion, are completely satanic. And their aim is to destroy Europe from what it is, because Europe is still a Christian continent. And they don't like Christianity. These elites, they're atheist, Marxist, and they want people to only worship them. And that's going to lead to war. I have no doubt in my mind that we will see another war in Europe. It's already started, actually, if you look at Ukraine. But if you look at Ukraine, they're saying now that this is going to be some kind of peace treaty between Trump and Putin. Do you know, even if there is a peace treaty, it's not going to last. There's a war coming to Europe, and it's a war that I will probably have to do again, and probably you and your children, whilst the elites that have caused this problem in Europe sit back, make billions, and watch the suffering of me, you, and your children, whilst they have caviar, champagne, and watch our families get destroyed. I hope it doesn't happen, but I believe it will. As the old saying goes, pray for peace, be ready for war. On that note, my name is Gabriel, and I leave you with this clip of Tomar during the festival period. And I hope that you and your family are safe. And please don't give up on God. He's here for all of us. God bless you all.